Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I have selected a sutta from Khanda Sangyutta, which is quite relevant to our practice, and probably you might have heard about this sutta, because sometimes I also have referred this, but I thought of covering that in detail. And the name was given as Vasijata Sutta, or sometimes it's referred as Vasijatopama Sutta. And we can simply say the simile of the adze handle. The adze handle. So, probably you know that adze is a kind of an axe where people are used to chip the trunk of a tree, and maybe the carpenters are using it to properly prepare a timber strip. Now let's start the entrance to this sutta. So while Buddha was residing at Savatthi, and then the Buddha addressed the monks. Janato aham bhikkhave passato asavanam khayam vadami, no ajanato no apassato. Monks, I kind of define, I say that the destruction of taints is possible only for one who knows and who sees. No ajanato, no apassato. Not for the one who does not see and does not know. So this is a kind of common phrase. Sometimes we can see, we heard it in the Sabbasava Sutta. Janato aham bhikkhave passato asavanam khayam vadami, no ajanato no apassato. So same statement is available in the Sabbasava Sutta. And there are certain suttas like Asavakkaya Sutta. Also in Magga Sangyutta, also there the highlight is very much like this. So only for the one who knows, only for the one who sees, I declare that the complete eradication of taints is possible. So this statement, after anyway giving that statement, mentioning that statement, then Buddha asks a question. Kincha bhikkhave janato, kim passato asavanam kayo hoti. So what you need to know, what you need to see in order for the destruction of taints. Now, for this question, Buddha has given various answers on various suttas. Now, in this sutta we can see Buddha is saying, iti rupang iti rupasa samudayo, iti rupasa attangamo. Iti vedanaya samudayo, iti vedanaya attangamo. Iti sanya, iti sankhara, iti viññānam. Iti viññānasa samudayo, iti viññānasa attangamo. So basically he is talking about the 5 aggregates. The idea is that the 5 aggregates, how they are arising, how they are passing away, each and every aggregate. So you are practicing, say, Kaya Anupassana, and as you are capable of recognizing some subtle elements, characteristics, Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, earth element, water element, fire element, air element, and at another level you start recognizing their conditioned nature, how they are rising and staying for a while and then passing away. It's a kind of a common nature to all the earth elements, all the water element, all the air element, all the heat element. It's a common nature. We call it as Sankata Lakkana. But anyway, as we further carefully observe, then probably our understanding further grow, and it will lead to a very subtle, very quick arising and passing away. So if we are looking at various elements, so we can see these elements are changing, so their characteristics are changing very quickly. We can't recognize their persistence, rather they quickly come and go, quickly arise and pass away. Now you can't recognize any kind of a tithi, any kind of a sustenance, rather If it arises, then immediately it passes away. If it arises, it immediately passes away. Something like that. So it's common to feelings as well. Even though at the beginning the feelings appear like staying for a while, but as we refine our attention, then we can understand, okay, they are also quite transient. They also quickly arise and pass away. Assume that we are practicing Chittanupassana. At the beginning, it appears like we encounter some kind of a lustful thought. It stays for a while and it's kind of a lustful emotion. But later it disappears, it dissipates. Ultimately, it will blur out. But later, probably you can understand, so it is not a huge such kind of an emotion. It's a mere thought, a lustful thought. That lustful thought quickly arise, pass away. So something like that. So our understanding become more and more refined, and quick arising and passing away becomes apparent to us. So this is what actually Buddha refers here. So different aggregates, they quickly arise and pass away. So iti rupassa samudayo iti rupassa hattangamu. And iti rupam. Iti rupam basically means that you recognize the very fundamental nature of the rupakkhanda. So that is the elements. It is not that we recognize house, car, bicycle, computer. So those are not really those are in a way we can say the conceptually constructed objects on top of the elements. But we need to go to the fundamentals, to the root, that is where the elements come to the picture. So we recognize different elements, and so that is the rupa. And then vedana, so that is also not that I have a headache, I have a back pain. So that is where we give a name and introduce I also into the picture. But rather, when we are recognizing iti vedana, that means we merely recognize, okay, there is a pleasurable feeling, there is a painful feeling, there is an equanimous feeling. So likewise we go to the very much the fundamentals, the elements. Thoughts are also like that. So we go back to the very subtle, minute level. So once we are well established there, then we can see their common characteristics, how they arise, how they persist, how they pass away. Later, how they quickly arise, pass away. So one has to know this, and then only Buddha say the ceasing of the asavas, the taints, destruction of the taints is possible. In other hand, we can simply say this is where Buddha emphasized the impermanence, the characteristics of anicca, the impermanence being emphasized, and one has to know the impermanence of the aggregates. And then on the other hand, certain suttas like Nandikkaya Sutta, Patama Nandikkaya Sutta, where Buddha emphasized that if one has this understanding of impermanence, he has proper samadhi, correct view, right view. So similarly here also, if one can properly understand this arising and passing away of various aggregates, so that leads to abandoning of all the defilements, abandoning of all the different kinds of taints, asavas. Now, if I just little go out from this particular sutta, now if you can remember the Sabbasava Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, there the answer to this question is different. So, kincha janato, kincha passato, asavanam kayo hoti. So, what needs to be known, what needs to be seen in order for taints to pass away? So, there the answer is different. There Buddha emphasized the yoniso manasikara. So, one should know what to reflect, what not to reflect, where to pay attention. So, your attention, the yoniso manasikara is very important. So, if we start thinking quite unnecessary stuff, and if we don't know where to pay attention, and we allow the mind to proliferate, we allow the mind to overthink, then the asavas will grow. But on the other hand, if we cut off the proliferation, if we reduce unnecessary thinking and all different kinds of unwholesome kind of thoughts, and we properly divert our attention to the roots, to the causes, introducing some wise attention, yoniso manasikara. So that is where Buddha emphasized in the Sabbasava Sutta. Yoniso manasikara is fairly emphasized. But there is another sutta I mentioned, Asavakkaya Sutta, available in the Magga Sangyutta. There the answer is different. There Buddha emphasized on the Four Noble Truths. One should know the Four Noble Truths. What is dukkha, what is samudaya, what is nirodha, and what is magga. And then only the taints will be destroyed. But anyway, these are very much similar thing we are talking, but from a different perspective. Now today in this particular sutta, in the Vasijata Sutta, Buddha say, okay, one has to see the rising and passing away of various aggregates. And it also emphasized the understanding of the Four Noble Truths. So understanding of each and every aggregate means we are recognizing the dukkha, the first noble truth. And more we recognize it, more we investigate it, we start understanding its true nature. Now as a result of that, slowly, our grasping, our misunderstanding start reducing. So the grasping is reduced, craving is reduced. So the samudaya starts, the cause of suffering, the samudaya, the tanha, craving, start reducing. The abandoning process, letting go process starts. And on the other hand, time to time, probably mind secludes, mind abandons everything, stop grasping, and probably the shades of nibbana, the calming down, tranquility, non-agitation. Now all those kind of features start evident to the yogi. So this whole process is the development of the path. So therefore, whenever we simply say knowing five aggregates, knowing their arising, knowing their passing away is necessary. On the other hand, we can simply say we are talking about the Four Noble Truths. So they are very much like interconnected, very much like overlapped. But the presentation is different, the emphasis is different. There the Four Noble Truths are emphasized. Here the understanding about the five clinging aggregates are emphasized. But the knowing of five clinging aggregates is the knowing of the First Noble Truth. Now, if we move forward to the Sutta, now Buddha mentioned about a very interesting scenario here. Bhavananiyogam ananiyuttassa bhikkhave bhikkhuno. Now that means there is a practitioner who is not involved in meditation. He is not a practitioner in a way. He may be a monk, he may be a nun, he may be upasaka, he may be a upasika, but not ardent in his practice. But he thinks, let my mind be free from all the taints, and let my mind be liberated from all the taints by non-clinging. So there is a kind of inner wish. So he wants to get liberated, he is wishing for that, but unfortunately he is not practicing. Now this is possible. Now there are often people simply wish, may I attain Nibbana, may I attain Nibbana. As a mantra they keep on telling, but they never sit and practice, they never walk and practice, they never try to establish mindfulness, they never look at their minds and try to recognize defilement. So they are not in the practice, but there is a wish, there is a hope, may I attain Nibbana. Now Buddha say, even though such kind of a wish is there, so their minds are not going to attain Nibbana. Their minds are not going to be liberated, not liberated from the taints by non-clinging. For what reason? Now he is saying the reason. Because of non-development So because of non-development. So what is not being developed? So that is the 4 establishment of mindfulness, the 4 right strivings, the 4 bases of spiritual power, the 5 spiritual faculties, the 5 powers, the 7 factors of enlightenment, the Noble Eightfold Path. So basically the 37 Bodhipakya Dhamma. 4 Satipatthana, then Chatunnang Sammapadhana, Chatunnang Iddipada, Panchannang Indriyanang, Panchannang Balang, then Satta Bojjanga and Ariya Attangika Magga. So these are the 37 factors of the enlightenment in a way. So one can start with the Satipatthana, maybe even the Kayanupassana. So as he continues, probably he may step into Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana. So the Satipatthanas are very much like the ground. And now as he develops, probably he recognizes how well he has to maintain the Virya, the Sammapadhana, not allowing the unwholesome thoughts to arise, not allowing unwholesome states to persist, and allowing wholesome states to arise and to persist. So likewise his understanding further grows, and his working with the path further grows, and then probably he understands the Chatunnang Iddipada, what you call the 4 bases for spiritual power, Chanda, Chitta, Virya, Vimansa. So he has a great desire to move forward, and he is quite determined and quite effortful, and also maybe investigative. So these are the Iddipada. So either one or either many of those Iddipadas he is handling, maintaining and keeping in front, so that he is continuing the path, continuing the development, continuing the practice. And probably then he understand about the Indriya, Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya, faith, effort, mindfulness, concentration, wisdom. So those are the faculties being grown, and they may grow further into the Bala, the spiritual powers, Saddha Balang, Virya Balang, Sati Balang, Samadhi Balang, Panya Balang. So they are now developed to the level of kind of a spiritual power. And then we are talking about the Satta Bojjanga, Sati, Dhamma, Vichaya, Virya, Piti, Passati, Samadhi, Upekha. Mindfulness, investigation, effort, rapture, tranquility, concentration and equanimity. So these are the enlightenment factors. So he is having some understanding about the enlightenment factors and growing them, developing them at various levels. And then we are stepping into the Noble Eightfold Path, Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. So likewise these are to be developed. So they are not just as a list to simply memorize, rather effortfully, practically we have to develop these qualities. So that is the difficult path. So people know these parts, they know how to write, they know how to pass the exam by writing the information, but they are not really practicing. That's the problem. But they have a wish, may I attend Nibbana soon. So that wish not going to be fulfilled because the causes are not satisfied. These 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas are not developed, even though they have a wish. Now Buddha now gives a very beautiful simile. Suppose because there was a hen with 8, 10 or 12 eggs that she had not covered, incubated and nurtured properly. Now this hen has eggs, but she is not properly incubating them. not covering them, not nurturing them. But anyway, he has a wish, that my chicks might pierce their shells with the points of their claws and beaks and hatch safely. So there's a wish in this hen that let me see the chicks quickly, let them come out by piercing the shells either with the points of their claws or with the beaks. So Buddha said it is not happening. The chicks are not properly matured, they are not properly grown, because the hen didn't do the task. Hen didn't do the necessary warmth. She didn't incubate. She didn't nurture. So then how the chicks may come out? So then Buddha say, even though there is a wish, so they may not come out. They may not hatch safely. For what reason? Because that hen with 8, 10 or 12 eggs had not covered, incubated and nurtured them properly. So very, very valid reason, and very much with a very beautiful simile, how Buddha is emphasizing that even though people are having kind of a wish to attain Nibbana, to attain full liberation, to abandon all the taints, asavas, but if they are not practicing, it is not going to happen just because they merely have the wish. And similarly, Buddha mentioned that monks also, even though they are having a wish, if they are not practicing, so their minds are not going to liberate from the taints by non-clinging. Because the four Satipatthanas are not developed, Iddhipadas are not developed, Sammappadhanas are not developed, Indriyas are not developed, Bala not developed, Vajjangas not developed, Noble Eightfold Path not developed, something like that. Now Buddha gives another simile. The opposite. Now there is a monk who is practicing. He is so keen on practice. Every morning, every evening, so he does the job as much as possible. He starts with the Kānupassana, maybe developing further to Vedananupassana, maybe start looking at his mind, recognizing various emotions, mental states, various defilements, various wholesome states, various unwholesome states. So slowly he is confident in his practice. He consolidates the understanding, and maybe he is capable of maintaining a non-grasping state of mind as a result of the practice. So likewise, now he is throwing in the path, very much like in the path, dwelling the path, we can say developing the path. Probably he may not even have a wish thinking that may the taints, may my mind be liberated from taints by non-clinging. But he is doing the job, even though he doesn't have a desire for the complete non-grasping, complete liberation, but he is doing the job. He is a real, how to say, a true person. He is a true practitioner. Now Buddha say, even though he doesn't have a wish, his mind being liberated. His mind will liberate. For what reason? Because of development. So what are the ones he developed? Same thing. For Satipatthana, for Sammappadhana, for Iddhipada, for 5 Indriya, 5 Bala, 7 Vajjanga and Noble Eightfold Path. So likewise, even though this particular practitioner doesn't have a wish, his mind gets liberated because he has done the job. He is practicing mindfulness. He is practicing vipassana, samatha vipassana. So the practice is there. So therefore, the wish is not so important, but the result will happen because he is on the job. He is a practical person. Same thing now Buddha gives the simile about the hen. there may be a hen who has 8 or 10 or 12 eggs, and he properly nurture them. He properly incubate them. She properly cover them every day. Every day she covers, every day incubate. Probably she doesn't have a wish, oh, that my chicks might pierce their shells with the points of their claws and beaks and hatch safely. So there is no such wish even within her mind. But Buddha say, yet the chicks are capable of piercing their shells with the points of their claws and beaks and of hatching safely. Why? Because she did the job. She did proper incubation, she did the proper covering, and she nurtured the eggs properly. Task is well done. Results evident either she wish or not. So same thing now Buddha repeats to the monks, to the practitioner. So same thing Buddha refers again. Now then he gives another simile, which is also quite helpful and something that we get another perspective of this idea. Now he is talking about a carpenter. So this carpenter or carpenter's apprentice looks at the handle of his adze. He sees the impressions of his fingers and his thumb, but he does not know so much of the adze handles has been worn away today, so much yesterday, so much earlier. But when it has worn away, the knowledge occurs to him that it has worn away. Now this is a very, very interesting simile. Now he is every day using the axe or this adze, whatever name we refer, that tool he every day use. So every day he is handling it using its handle. Every day his hand being touched to the handle. His thumb is touched to the handle. His hand's impressions are there. So there is a very tiny wearing out, but he can't measure it. So as a result of today's work, how much wear and tear has happened? He can't measure. As aware of yesterday's practice, how much wear and tear has happened? We can't measure. How about the day before yesterday? We can't measure. So likewise, if we consider the individual days, we can't measure the amount of decay. But interestingly, after a while, he can understand, okay, the handle has completely worn out, completely worn away. I can't further use it. I better change the handle. So that kind of a idea is possible. Even though daily usage, he can't measure how much wear and tear has happened, but ultimately at one day he understands, okay, the handle is very difficult to use now, it is too much worn away. So similarly, Buddha now takes it to the practice. So too bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu dwells devoted to development, even though no such knowledge occurs to him, so much of my taints have been worn away today, so much yesterday, so much earlier. So he can't measure. Now this statement is very, very interesting. So the practitioner can't recognize, as a result of today's sitting, as a result of my today's practice, today's walking, etc. So how much wear and tear has happened to the defilements. So he can't measure. But interestingly, one day he can know all the defilements are abandoned, all the taints are abandoned, it has happened. The knowledge occurs to him that they have been worn away. Even though daily he can't measure, but there is a day he will understand, okay, there are no defilements, there are no taints. And let's take the last simile also. Suppose because there was a seafaring ship bound with rigging that had been worn away in the water for 6 months. So Buddha is giving kind of a time frame here. So considerable time, that means. This particular ship is there on the sea for a considerable period of time. It would be hauled up on dry land during the cold season. Now it comes to the dry land and stay there also for a cold season. And that whatever the ropes, the rigging would be further attacked by the wind and sun. And probably those are inundated by rain from a rain cloud, from a while it is either bound to the anchor or to the ground. So those rigging is very much like inundated. So that also salty water, so that also helps to decay. The rigging would easily collapse and rot away. Now rotting is happening. The collapsing is happening. Deterioration is happening. So too bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu dwells devoted to development, his fetters easily collapse and rot away. Now in these both similes, one thing is that we can't recognize per day what is the amount worn away has happened, rotting has happened, so the fading has happened. So daily amount we can't recognize. And how long will it take? So it will also take long time. So the two similes given also indicate that. So rather than giving a very another different kind of a simile, now adze, so the handle of an adze or handle of an axe, so it takes long time to wear out. It may not happen within a day or two, maybe within a month or two. It may happen after years. So similarly, this rigging of the ship, that also take long time to completely deteriorate, completely collapse, rot away. It also will take long time. But it is happening. So that's the important thing. We can't say, I can't see per day how much of rotting has happened, but still the rotting is going on. It will happen. So one day it will break. If it is the rope, so it will one day break. You can't use it. So the shipman may understand, okay, it's very risky to use this rope anymore. I better change the rope. This rope is no more usable. So he may understand it. Similarly, the carpenter would understand, okay, this handle cannot be used further. I have to throw it away. I have to replace the handle. So he will understand. But per day, that is impossible. So same thing to our practice. So we have to continue the practice, but per day results immeasurable. But there may be a day we will understand, okay, now the defilements are not present in the mind. Asavas taints are not present in the mind. So whatever the agitation caused by the taints is not present in the mind. So different kinds of thought processes, different kinds of obsessions, agitations, or different perceptions happened due to the asavas, due to the taints, is completely absent now. Mind is free from agitation. Mind is free from all the different kinds of defilements, all the different kinds of taints, and their repercussions. So then he will understand, okay, mind is freed, completely liberated through non-clinging. Okay, this is the sutta, so I like to highlight today, and it's a quite interesting sutta to our practice. And with that note, I close today's sutta teaching session, and now I open the session for questions.
Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu. Bhante, while we wait to see if anyone has questions, can you let us know, I don't know if it's been finalized, but you will be leading retreats in the U.S. has that schedule? Is that something we can share?
Not yet, Jennifer. So we were actually discussing that during last Sunday also, but things are slowly finalizing. Maybe after a couple of weeks I may be able to share it with you. You know, the Janaka Nakandala, so he's working on that, and others are helping him finalizing at different states, and I'll let you know once things are finalized.
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
Yeah. You have a question? Yeah, we have a question from our side.
So I'm not saying there's 37 Bodhipakhiya Dhamma. Should we list them down and start working on them one by one? There's so many things.
Yeah. No, actually there's a fair overlap. Now if we consider Kayanupassana. Now while working on Kayanupassana, so you may even look at the mind also. Right? You may even recognize some defilements, some emotions, and maybe some feelings. Even though we say, okay, feelings belong to Vedananupassana, thoughts belong to Chittanupassana, but they have a fair interconnection, fair amount of overlapping. Now say you are anyway exerting some effort, right? So during the whole practice, so that effort one can say, okay, it belongs to Sammapadhana. Sammapadhana means the right kind of striving. So the effort is anyway included into the Satipatthana also. Atapi, Sampajano Satima, Atapi. So the effort is emphasized. Now, as a result of the Satipatthana practice, okay, the 5 faculties are being developed. So your Saddha, you have Saddha, so that's why you are in the path, in the practice, and you are exerting some effort, you are developing mindfulness, concentration being developed, and now you may doing the investigation, so the wisdom is also developed. So there's a fair overlapping between these various terms, various faculties, so various qualities. But for explanation, emphasis, so Buddha has fairly explained these things from different terms. But on the other hand, there's a kind of evolution also we can say. Now say for example, if you consider mindfulness, so mindfulness of a beginner who is involved with Kayanupassana may be different from a person who was in the practice for a long time and then he is practicing Vedananupassana, or who was practicing Chittanupassana. Still mindfulness, but there's a kind of a maturity, there's a kind of a depth, there's a kind of breadth to the mindfulness as he is continuing. So it is, therefore we can't say the mindfulness of a beginner is the same as the mindfulness of another practitioner. So it depends on how much we involve, how much dedication we did, where we are right now. So all that are kind of an evolution. And even now if you consider Sati Indriya and Sati Bala, so there is a difference. In the Sati Indriya level, in the faculty level, where you have some good memory about what has happened yesterday or day before yesterday, maybe even what you ate, what you drink, all that you have a very, very sharp memory because you are not being careless. So you are very careful, you attend everything, you are with presence of mind every time. So the memory is very good. But when it comes to the Bala, so you are now confident about mindfulness. So you did the task, you did the job, but now there may be certain lapse happening, you forget something, your mind start talking again, but you are not worried too much. So the path appear like, you feel confident because now the spiritual qualities are very much like embedded, inculcated to the mind. So you are, so the slight hiccups are not too much bothered because you are quite confident, okay, I can handle it, I can amend it, something like that. And say once it comes to Sati Sambojjhanga, say there You are now using mindfulness particularly to recognizing defilements, to calm down the mind, to release the agitation, reduce the grasping. So your motivation is more towards the Nibbana. Reducing defilements in a way, reducing the agitation, reducing the burning, calming down, relaxation, tranquility. So the other mundane aspects are now has become secondary. So your motivation has changed. So therefore, Sati Sambojjhanga has another meaning in that sense. And Sati, Samma Sati, right mindfulness. So when we are talking right mindfulness at the Noble Eightfold Path, so it is not something that we can take out as a single thing. You can't single it out. Rather, it is collaborating with many others, particularly with Sammaditthi and Sammavayama. Every time there is a proper vision. Okay, this is the right thing. So this is the wrong thing. So he has the clear vision. And that is being further encouraged by the effort. He is continuously maintaining effort to abandon the wrong path, to maintain the right path. And for that he has to be fully aware about the present moment. So that is the right mindfulness. So likewise, so there is an evolution if we consider each and every component. But we can see mindfulness is present at the Karananupassana level, Vedananupassana level, Chittanupassana level, Dhammanupassana level, as a Sati Indriya, as a faculty, as a Bala, as a power, as a Bojjhanga, as a Magganga, path factor. But there's an evolution. So therefore, knowing this have some advantage to evaluate what's going on. To get a kind of reflection, okay, what happened to the mindfulness? How it has evolved? What happened to concentration? How it has evolved, isn't it? What happened to the effort? How it has evolved? What happened to my saddha? What is its current state? How it has evolved? So you are reflecting about your past, present, and you get a kind of a idea. So how these faculties, how these mental qualities, spiritual qualities being developed, how they have evolved. And if we have that proper understanding, that also has a big advantage. It's quite necessary also. And not merely listing them everything, but rather comparatively know, so what are the qualities emphasized and how these qualities are now very much like inculcated into the mind. So the mind is now representing them. Mind being cultivated by those good qualities, and mind is situated on those qualities, isn't it? Kind of strengthened by those qualities, something like that. So very interesting area actually. These are the areas that we need to further and further sort of explore. And Buddha particularly highlight, okay, you have to develop these Bodhipakkhya Dhammas, that's it. No excuse. You can't simply wish and attain Nibbana. You need to do the hard job, do the hard work. So this is the ground you need to work. This is the field that you need to work. So if you are doing it, then the outcome will happen as a dhammata, as a result. Very practical in a way. Yeah.
And the Lokaswami Nansi says that when these faculties are developing, at that time you don't even think that, oh, my sat is improving. It is only later that when you reflect back, you say at a certain point it was like this, but then now it has changed.
Exactly.
The difference.
Exactly. Now today we discuss about this ad simile.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the ad simile, so this carpenter can't measure it. He can't see compared to yesterday how today's thing. But after a long time of usage, he can see, okay, the handle being worn out now. I have to change it. So you need a fair amount of time to invest in your practice. Then once you reflect back, then you can see a considerable change. Then you can recognize. Otherwise, very difficult to see what are the changes happen spiritually within us within a day, or just yesterday, day before yesterday, that we can't assess. But after a long time, maybe 1 year ago, how I have handled a particular situation. Say, for example, if we are dealing with people, how often we had an argument, how often we get into a trouble, get into a quarrel, and how about the today's situation? Am I able to sort of cope up with the situation, bear with them, or handle them with care without getting into argument, without getting into trouble, still maintaining kind of a peace? So problems are every day available, but how we are reacting, isn't it? How we are dealing with them. Now all these practical aspects indicate the mental development, spiritual development, the spiritual development of our faculties. So the further and further the development of the faculties indicates that the mind becomes more and more stable, irrespective of the ups and downs of the life, irrespective of the vicissitudes of the life. So your mind becomes more and more stable. It can withstand the ups and downs, something like that. So that change, that maturity, time to time, probably we may be able to recognize. Very interesting. Yeah.
I'd like to invite Priya. Next question.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thirwan Saranai Bante.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really important and interesting Sutta. Thank you very much for that. And then this is not a question. I wanted to share actually from my experience and things that I have heard from during this session and many other questions. One of the major, I think, hindrance is that our expectation. We expect things to happen fast. We want things to happen fast, and then when it does not happen, doubt arises, thinking whether I'm doing the correct thing or is this the suitable method for me. That it happened to me too, and it takes, as you said, we don't know that it's developing every moment. It's developing. It's happening.
Yeah, something happened to your mic, it seems. So you're being muted.
Like Priya is still there. Hi Priya, can you hear us?
I think she been disconnected.
Looks like her sound is not connected.
Yes.
Let's see if she comes back.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we can...
Priya, she came back.
There she is again.
Yeah.
Hi Priya, are you able to mute?
Yeah, sorry, I think my internet connection was bad. Yeah, so what I mentioned was it was very important thing that you mentioned. And at the same time I thought sometimes wish itself can be a hindrance.
Exactly.
Right, Bante?
Yes, exactly. Because it makes the mind agitated. So still I haven't attained Nibbana, still I haven't become a Sotapanna. So it also highlights the Sakkaya Ditthi, promotes Sakkaya Ditthi, because there is a I who has to attain Nibbana. Still I can't attain Nibbana. Still I am not a Sotapanna. So that emphasizes the I factor, emphasizes the egotism. So basically that in a way not helpful for the practice.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Bante. I just wanted to let you know that it happened to me, but I asked many times you. I feel like I'm stuck in the same place, and you always told me keep practicing, and I did, and then you can measure it by the amount of peace that you experience in life, and when you start realizing that, you develop more faith, and it's like one lead to the other, and it's keep going. Yeah, thank you very much, Bhante.
Yeah. And this is quite a common thing because we feel anxious about the results and we want to get it soon and we are eager to have them, and so likewise these things are possible. And in Dhamma also this is sometimes mentioned, what we call as Nekkammasita Domanassa. Say there are others colleagues that who are practicing, and you feel like okay, they are attained, or they are now fairly tranquil, or they attain jhana, or they attain quite good serenity, or they handle things carefully. But say once you compare with them, okay, you feel like okay, I am not yet there, and when am I going to be like them? So you get this kind of attitude. So that's also sometimes frustrating and makes you a little unhappy. So that's sometimes mentioned as the Nekkammasita Domanassa. So it's a kind of a despair happens within our mind as a result of the spiritual path. That's also recognized by the Buddha, explained by the Buddha. But the point is, we need to know maybe the repercussions of it, consequences of it, not to too much dwell in it, rather to make the causes, to prepare the causes. It's a entirely a Parisamuppada type of a process here, dependently arising process here. So as we continue, probably you have heard about the Upanishad Sutta. So when things are properly maturing, it also happens as a causal chain. And
without judging and without comparing.
Exactly. So
Thank you very much, Bhante. Much merit.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll to the Yasla for the next question.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Bhante, for today's Dhamma session. And I'd just like to thank you also for visiting Sydney. And it was good to attend the session, Bhante, meditation retreat in Malgoa. Yes, Bhante, actually, I also like to kind of share my experience and also get your advice, please. Is that, you mentioned about with the time, we will realize the benefit. And also you mentioned, person has to practice, then only we get the benefit. So in a way, I felt glad to hear that, I'm at least doing something. And also, when you mentioned about 37, 38, I was a little bit taken back, but then I think you already answered that question first. So I'm happy with that. But one thing actually, what I want to share is that these days there are some like issues. Let's say there are some issues that is within my family with some children. So I am discussing with them and I'm going through with them. And what I want to highlight is that this practice has kind of given me the fruits of dealing with that, especially when I realize sometimes, I'm actually going into prapancha, doing some prapancha of the same matter. I don't have to do that. But whatever the action we have done, we have discussed, we have taken, so things are happening. It's just that I need to go with it. I just need to deal with it in a more mindful manner rather than being more of get into prapancha of that. So I think that I completely contribute to the practice, something that results came to me.
Correct. No, actually, those are the areas probably help us to measure ourselves. So how practical it is, our practice in a way. So it is not simply a mere practice we do on the cushion and then forget it. Or we do on our walking path and then forget it. Rather, the results of the practice, the strength of the practice has to be applied on various daily activities, on various daily troubles. these kind of issues, family matters or office matters or social issues, everywhere we can make use of these spiritual qualities what we have developed, whatever, particularly the vipassana knowledges what we have somewhat understood. So all these things are kind of a toolbox in a way. Everywhere we can use them, and so that our mind become less agitated and we quickly return back to our normal life and maintain a fairly unattached, unstressed kind of a mentality. So all these things are there to practice, they are to use and to make use of it, and then only we understand, yes, it is working. It is also good for me. It is also helpful for me, for my family life, for my monk's life, even to daily office work, how to deal with some difficult people, how to deal with the climate change, how to deal with the economic crisis. So everywhere, so these spiritual qualities are to be tested, to be used, to make use of them. Then only they become really beneficial and fruitful, and we also start further and further admiring them, and further we start cutting off the defilements, because it is not on the cushion that the defilements are arising. It may be on the supermarket, it may be on the train, it may be on the road, it may be at the office, at the monastery. So that is where the defilements are arising.
Yes, thank you. And yes, mainly I realize that these days I'm trying to move on this the subject Bhavatanha. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the future. How will this happen? How this? But there, no. Future will come. Let's have the peace of mind now. Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very, very common problem. Thank you very much for highlighting it. The Bhavatanha, because we all are living in a quite uncertain world. So the Bhavatanha is quite kind of provocative. So it promotes too much thinking, too much planning, too much worrying, and then the anxiety can happen. So you feel anxious, uncertain. So further mind become agitated. So all these things are possible because of this underneath Bhavatanha. So we want to continue, we want to live, I want to continue, I want to be safe, I have to be protected, I have to be assured my life. Now the I is there. I is there to be protected. So the Bhavatanha has this underneath sense of I.
Yes, Bhante. Thank you very much. That was much merit.
Yeah. Yeah, okay then. So here also no question. Then we have spent fair amount of time today, and you all also have actively participated. And then we will conclude today's session, and I invite Venerable Dhammosada to do the sharing of merits.
Sorry, Bhante. For the merits we have accrued today, discussing, listening, learning the Dhamma, we would like to extend these merits we have accrued to our teachers, our parents, our relatives, all deities. May all celestial beings protect this Dhamma exposition and the Buddha Sasana for a long time, and may the seeds of Dhamma we have received grow and produce path, fruition, and Nibbana. I invite everyone to join in the traditional, in the recitation of the traditional Pali verses for the sharing of merits. Ittavata chammehi samvatam punya sampadam sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata chammehi samvatam punya sampadam sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata chammehi samvatam punya sampadam sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasatta cha bummata devanaga mahiddhika punyang tang anumoditva chirang rakantu sasanam. Akasatta cha bummata devanaga mahiddhika Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu desanang. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahidika. Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu mamparang. Idang o nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang no nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang no nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.